I was given a list of artists. And when I was given the list of artists, I noticed that we didn't have regional artists on. So I said, no. The president will not launch the campaign, his campaign, with only Kampala artists. So I managed to convince the secretariat, and they were very happy to include. We called it an inclusion. Keep trying. No, keep trying. So I included them, and for the first time ever, I don't know whether it has happened, but at least all those artists were paid not less than 3 million shillings, not less, apart from a traditional group, actually even traditional groups, because remember there are many. And the maximum payment for an artist from Gulu was 7 million shillings, which I don't think any other person has paid an artist from a regional artist, apart from the ones who have broken big like Reggie and stuff. But I'm talking about our usual regional artists who don't have big songs. I paid them 7 million, 5 million for one gig in Kololo. I have all that evidence. Now, by doing that, I was giving them a cue. I was cueing them to tell them that, hey, guys, for the many rallies, I think this is what should be anticipated. So, as usual, Nenkwe, Nobutamanya, you know, as artists, we have so many artists who are very ignorant. They think they know, they don't know, they don't want to learn, they don't listen, they just went ahead behind and started an issue called Hey Bebe Cool. It came from performances, because remember, we were so many artists on that day in Kololo. But the program in Kololo, when it comes to performance, you must always know that if it involves the president, it changes every second. Any activity that involves the president, you must be sure when you accept to perform, get ready for changes, because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with His Excellency. So they told us, prepare entertainment. Me, what I want to see is everyone included, so it's an inclusion concert, but then still the principle is the first priority. So when the president was about to come, the different artists, and the funny thing is, when they come to Kololo, you tell them, go on stage now. They tell, it's still early. Me, I still want we're waiting for people here. Now, me, I will perform for the president when he has come. Most of them are fighting to perform when the president has come. But you see, there's very little time when the president has come. And most times, because he's busy, when he arrives, he will come and make changes in the program. Say, I need to leave, so make sure this and this gets done quickly. So some of our colleagues ended up not performing when the president is around. And then they got annoyed and they went to the Secretary General, the Bebe Cool. Thank you, Bebe Cool is tribalistic. He did this. This came from the artist from the north. He has not. He made sure that we don't perform in front of the. But remember, the first time, it's me who even suggested the names of the regional artists, and it's me who even suggested the pricing. The pricing. Okay. I made sure that it's even gender balanced. There were female artists, there were male artists. I made sure traditional groups came from all the way, Karamoja, Arua, Koboko, where. So I was surprised the following week, because it was a week after, that's when the campaign was starting. I was surprised to be called by the Secretary General that artists are complaining that they were sidelined. I was like, I can't put an artist when the president needs to talk. I can't. You get a call from the person who's running the program of the day saying, stop the song. You've seen people, artists performing, and then a politician is talking in the microphone, and then the artist is very annoyed and angry. You get it? I actually, on that gig, I stepped on stage during Alien Skin's performance and stopped him from performing, and I told him, They are going to sing the national anthem. The president is leaving. So, in a nutshell, that situation created a mistrust between the artists, some artists, not all, some artists from the northern part of Uganda, who went ahead to the Secretary General and complained, and then the Secretary General went ahead and sided with them and created the issue of Eddie Kenzo's regional proposal that let those artists perform in their regions. I only felt sorry because I definitely knew what was going to happen. And indeed it happened. I felt bad. So for me, what I did is I waited. I addressed this. I made a different plan. Of course, I had plans. When it comes to these things, guys, you have to learn. Experience is the best teacher. I did the campaigns of Tubonga Nawe for 2.5 weeks, and we were stopped during the COVID time. But the plan that I used this time of media and music was exactly what I had applied that time. But that time, when I was stopped, the people who kubed me Bukokola and kubed the idea of Bukokola, they had the power. The power was the money. They are the ones who are funding me. So the president lost on a program that would have done, I'm very sure, 100 or 200%, that if I had proceeded. You all remember that campaign when I was doing the t-shirt. Let me clearly explain to you what was going on. You saw the t-shirt because the t-shirt giving is what I wanted to show you. Mwalaba t-shirt kwanza nali njaga kubalaga kugaba t-shirt. Na ye kyaliwo kyali kirala nnyo ngenda kibagamba kati. Nali nkimanyi nti no Bobi ne Lukwago ne banne bali bakozesa ba ghetto kids okola efujjo mu Kampala mu Uganda. Mukalulu no ku intimidating aba fans. Mwino okutandika, you have to start learning. Mwino okutandika okuyiga. Wait. Aisha, sit. Chiteto. Ali. Go, guys. This is madness. Sorry, I had to respond to a sound that I had. My dog was out and Kleberson was screaming like a woman. Imagine. I thought someone had been shot in my compound. Guys, this is shocking. A man was crying like a woman after seeing a big dog. Anyway, so let me give you a clear picture of that Tubonga Nawe campaign. What exactly Bebe Cool was intending at that time. I came up with, you know our history with Bobi Wine as an artist, and you know our history with Chameleon, but you all know that I always was the guy with the plans musically amongst the three. And then, of course, even during that time when Chameleon was alone as Leon Island and Bebe Cool was with Bobi Wine, the Black Boys and the Firebase crew. So all those plans came from this head here. Even when I went to Nairobi, the plans of the East African Bashment crew came from me. So I definitely knew Kyagulanyi, and no one knows Kyagulanyi like I do when it comes to these games of public, because definitely he's learning how to deal with fans and people is something that came from our times. The times, of course, Kyagulanyi, I started singing before him. I was singing with Eddie Awe. He was a very young man, but he liked singing and he joined, and Eddie asked me, we worked together. Eddie Awe is a very good guy, so there was no way I wasn't going to work with the brother. I grew up, I was more closer to the likes of Eddie Awe and Nyanzi, okay? So, by going to Nairobi, I went to Nairobi after that session, okay? So you can imagine the mastermind of so many things. So definitely I know if I look at Jose Chameleon in a place, I can tell what he's going to do in a second before he does it. If I look at Bobi, saying something, I can know what he's going to say next. I can tell how he's going to turn. I know my brothers. I know them left, right, and center. So it was easy for me to come up with a plan. So when I came up with this plan, I knew that I had to use two fronts. One front, I have to give the enemies or the people who are opposing me, I have to give them a different face. The face that gives them satisfaction. So I had to show them that I'm a fool, because they be very happy when they see Bebe Cool is a fool. He's giving t-shirts, he's useless. That is the first face. But the face behind that campaign of giving t-shirts, the truth was I had collected from each ghetto, 40 ghetto kids. From each ghetto, you say Kalerwe, 40. Bwaise, 40. B14, 40. Ntinda ghetto, 40. I left Kampala with around 28 coasters, and I had a budget that was adding on 40 ghetto people from each region that had very bad ghetto kids. That's like the plan was to take more from Jinja, the plan was to take more from Iganga, the plan was to take more from Mbale. Now I'm going to be open to you so that you know exactly who Bebe Cool. And this was a single planned idea from Bebe Cool. What was my plan with these ghetto people? Because I had known that in the city center, all the threats, all the trouble was being done by the opposition taking advantage of these ghetto guys. They were giving them 5K, 3K to do the havoc. They were giving them little money to scare people. You remember at that time, just barely putting on a yellow t-shirt was a problem. They were beating people, they were scaring people. So one of the best ways to win an election is intimidation. So Bobi Wine and his clique at that time came up with the idea of intimidating President Museveni's people, but no one had known that that was the formula. But remember, always the president has always said this, that his voters are always intimidated. And he has always said the second statement that they cheat his votes. But because for us as Ugandans or as human beings, you sit back and say, hey, how can they intimidate a president's voter? Or how can they cheat a president of his votes? You can't. Atulimba yabba. So that's why most people were saying that NRM over Museveni abbo bululu, because no one can really believe unless if they see with their own eyes that president basobola mubbo bululu nti abayaya abo bali bagezi, and all these things njaba wa manya g'abantu abaleetera ekintu ekyo. Those who remember how Peter Sematimba lost the votes, the election of Kampala mayorship, you all know what happened. You all know what happened. The opposition yakwata a box z'obululu ne batisetinga bannamawulire ne bakanika obululu waggulu ku compound yani ya Sematimba. Kati Sematimba ye yali azze mu luzungu, ayambadde gloves biki, yamanyi biri legit. The people who work with on the side of government usually are so legit, but the people in the opposition are so shrewd. But it's so shrewd. Kubanga bachimanyi nti tosobola convincing abantu. You can't convince people that it is the opposition that did. Always it is going to be the incumbent, the government that is pressing the people. So they take advantage of that and instead they press the people. Best example, the recent video of a noob guy that you saw, who was intimidating a woman in a room for sex. Okay? So we will get to that. So that's how I came up with a plan and said, oh, I need to take away these guys so that when Lukwago leaves his home, he comes in the city, he looks for these guys to give them the money to do the trouble, he won't find them. That was the first game. So I had about 48 presidents of different ghettos. We met in Chiwatule. I used Cobra to reach them. We met in Chiwatule, we discussed. I was paying each of the ghetto presidents 200,000 per day. 200,000 per day. But each of the ghetto kid was getting 50K per day for those first 3 weeks we worked. Each of them was being paid emitwalo 5. Buli mwana wa ghetto gwe natwala mu bus yali afuna emitwalo 5 nga president waabwe eyabawandika n'abaleeta mu costers ezebbiri yali afuna emitwalo 2 buli lunaku. Omukyala eyali ansasula sente ezo ku secretariat bali bamuyita Mama Namayanja, who of course is one of the reasons why Buganda today did so well. I took this plan to Honorable Namayanja and gave it to him. When I gave it to him, he said this plan is so good, but it is not going to be accepted easily. At that time, she was the national treasurer. I think she was the national treasurer or something like that. So, first she had not accepted that idea because she didn't think I could execute it. Then on the second last day before the campaigns began, she called me and said, come. We met at plot 2, there is a restaurant there, and is it plot 4, something like that, in Nakasero. She asked me, Bebe Cool, Nambuza, can you execute that idea? I told her, yes, I will, I can, because it's me who came up with the idea. I need to remove the ghetto guys. Once I remove them, there won't be intimidation. Secondly, it was a security issue. Because you remember that time, these ghetto kids were not scared of police. Bakwatanga amayinja ne balumba police straight. Ng'omusirikale ayina emundu, ng'omwana wa ghetto akutte ejjinja. And then at that time, Chagulanyi's group, that's why they were using camera. Because they wanted a photo of a gun on the other side and a stone on this side. That was a very damning photo internationally. So that was also another way to encourage the Western world to get involved in a country's politics. When you see a man with a gun shooting a guy with a stone. So for me, immediately I knew the game plan. And remember, in Chagulanyi's team, I can't fail to have people there. Guys, twakula fena obuguwa tebugwayo. Buli muntu akaluka paka n'okaluka n'omanya nti I get my information here and I will use it like this. And I also know, that's why you see most of the times tugoba abantu mu cliques zaffe gagame onokera ku machango bagobye omuntu onsobola okuteekawo reason nti nagobye omuntu na disrespectinga naye nga nze nkimanyi yabadde apassinga information ewa Joseph ewa Chameleon yabadde apassinga information ewa Bobi. So ne wa Bobi nga waliyo omuntu abantu baffe naffe betukozesa. So I came up with that plan. Honorable Namayanja decided to support it. It was a very expensive idea, but it was the perfect idea. So I had 2 types of people. I had the ghetto team, and then I called my friend, he's called Cloud. I told him, Cloud, I need all the media personalities that are strong, the best, with the best platforms. So when we started to go at that time into Bonga now, I had 6 coasters. Each coaster had 40 media personalities. 40 media personalities. 40 times 6. I had them. I was paying each of them, each media personality was being paid 150,000 per day. Per day. 150,000 per day, 50,000 kuliko okusula. Because I gave them a plan, I told them, look, you're going to use 20,000 to sleep. So bwe mbeera babiri mufune room emu eya 40 oba room emu eya 50, 25, you save. So when you spend 20 on accommodation of 25, the other 25 is breakfast ya 5,000, lunch ya 10k, dinner ya 10k. So you spend 50k in a day and you save 100,000. For 3 months when you're saving 100,000, but I told them that the most important thing where I wanted the media personalities to go on that campaign during the COVID was Ugandans had been misled when it comes to information about Uganda. But now Uganda bali misled nnyo nga tebamanyi Uganda. Kiki ekyaleetera okubeera nga bali tebamanyi Uganda? Kyali kimu nga bannamawulire tebamanyi, tebatambulangako mu Uganda, tebavisitanga. Omunnamawulire amanyi Kampala na waabwe gye bamuzaala. Nebwe moge president akanya kwogera ku nguudo, president akanya kwogera ku daamu, president akanya kwogera ku development, model farms biki tebabimanyi because tebatambulangako. Kati ekyo nakyo ne ngamba ngenda kigatta, so nagatte bintu bibiri. Ne ngamba njagala ntambuze bannamawulire ku campaign trail balabe kitubeera twogerako why we support Museveni. Kubanga batuufu okuwakana, omanyi waliwo wakana, waliwo support wogana ekintu kubanga nawe tokirabangako. So ne ngamba abana bagayi just tebalabangako, naye opportunity eno bwe emyezi 3 okutambula Uganda yonna omuntu akyuka obwongo. These are some of the words I gave Honorable Namayanja. Nemgamba Honorable Namayanja, NRM ina weakness erimu ku information flow. The party has done a very good job. Yes, the party has erina ebikyamo ebimwe nga corruption eziriyo, abantu abamu abatakoze bebalina okukola, naye ate NRM party ekoze ebintu bingi nnyo ebirungi, naye ate tebyogerwako. Lwaki? Lwakubanga twateekawo bridge nti tewaliwo basobola byogerako kuba tebabimanyi. Omuntu n'abeera Kampala nga tamanyi nti Gulu is one of the cleanest cities in Uganda. Omuntu n'abeera Kampala n'atamanya nti Uganda erina ensozi n'ebikko ebirungi ennyo. Omuntu n'abeera Kampala n'atamanya nti factories zizimbibwa all over the country. Bakanyanga kuwulira, people are just hearing, hey, President Museveni keeps getting his votes in the villages. You call them the villages, but the man has developed those areas. There's water, there's electricity, there are roads, there are hospitals, there are schools at a certain level. They are not the best hospitals in the world, but they are hospitals that have saved people. They are not the best schools in the villages, but they are schools that have educated Ugandans like me. My friends, I went to school, my nursery school. I was in a school called Makonzi Boarding Primary School, which is in Kasanda, past Mubende. That's where I began my nursery in top class. So during that time, imagine when I saw my nursery Makonzi Kasanda. But I am the guy who's speaking to you all this information. In Gulu, the universities that are there, my lawyer wange, friend wange, Mtok Ebo, Council Ebo, amateka ya gamalira Lira. Amateka gola bago, and you're yet to see these young people. You're yet to see them. Mbale universities, those are places where people are concentrating on education. So katinga bantu babira we Museveni obululu abujja country yet I know. Yeah, he knew. The president is very clever. He knew that Favali wano mu center tubera nyo muwalala, but the real development, most people wano mu center balowooza nti Uganda stops in Kampala here in Buganda. No. Uganda is a spread country within the borderline. So that's how I came up with the plan of getting all the ghetto guys to go with them and all the media personalities to go with them. The ghetto guys, I was to remove them from the activity so that these guys come, they don't find them, so they don't have anyone to use. Remember them, they fear police. Okay, so if you take away these guys, then they don't have anyone to hire to face police. So I was solving a security issue. At the same time, I was solving an intimidation issue. But I was not going to explain to a layman. I can't give my plan. I keep my plan. All I said is, but these people like it when Bebe looks a fool. So I gave you the face of a fool to kneel down and give t-shirts. The t-shirts were very simple. NRM has t-shirts. President can print t-shirts. It was always good because the intimidation was telling people not to wear anything yellow. You remember cars were being beaten. So for me, I was giving out the t-shirts to re-encourage people to put on the yellow. But the actual reason was now these other two that I've explained to you. That was smart. But I didn't need to explain to a Ugandan that, oh, I'm moving with the ghetto guys, I'm kneeling down. You remember I knelt down. Let me tell you, in the first 14 days, Chagulanyi was conversing about Bebe on his rallies. I have that video in Fort Portal where he had done his rally, telling his people that when this Rasta comes here kneeling down, giving t-shirts, comes, chase him away. The topic was very simple. I needed his diversion. He's not at the same level with the president. No. He's at the same level with the Bebe, the chameleons. He's a musician. He will never stop being a musician. That's why now all the people in the opposition are suffering. They are suffering because they refuse to accept the truth that they are dealing with an artist. They are not dealing with a politician. They are not dealing with a presidential material. No, they were dealing with an artist who is directly competing with his fellow artists. That's why some of the fans, his musical fans, come up and say, Bebe Cool Chagulanyi yamuleka da. So it is a musical thing. Yamuleka. These are the same people who cannot ask this guy to reason politically or economically. But to them it is about Chagulanyi yaleka Bobi Wine yaleka Bebe Cool. Bobi Wine yaleka chameleon. So in a nutshell, ne Bobi nga jali ayagala kumakinga sure nti akakasa nti abonna baleka nenga ate kabaka yamukola mulina bwenti because nze nali sina budde bwa kintu neki nali nina obudde bwa plani yange nga bwenjikola mujjeko abamawulire mujjeko abageto ate nga mumanyi mukodo. So at the end of the day alitasobola kusobola plani yange. But era God works in mysterious ways. Mu NRM twalinamu abantu abali bakola naye. We had so many people who are working with Chagulanyi. How are they working with Chagulanyi? They were working with Chagulanyi because the more Chagulanyi put on pressure on the president, the more the president released the budget. We even had people in the police force doing very bad things intentionally. We had members of the parliament from the opposition, or we had MP candidates paying police people to arrest them, to mishandle them as women, to tear. Don't you remember that time when they were tearing women's bras? What? You look at a policeman, you say, why is this policeman really mishandling a woman? Kumbe these MPs were paying a back door. These guys were getting 2-5 million. Remember, their salary is less. So when you're given 5-10 million to kuzoganya, it appears legit that the police is mishandling Ugandans. All these things were planned. As NRM people, I tell you, I knew several people who were working with this guy, but they were way too stronger that if I attacked them directly, I would be down by today. So I said, no, I will devise my best way to work with the president. And I know the president at that time could not understand me very well, even himself, because I did not explain to him this thing, because I explained it to only Honorable Namayanja. That's why at the end of that campaign, there was a meeting at State House with all musicians and the SEC members. And in that meeting, I raised my hand. Full Figure was there. All the artists were there. Kusasira who. I raised my hand to talk, but the president wasn't picking me. Remember, that was at the end of the campaign after the president had been announced and Asinze. The president kept on choosing anyone else, Full Figure would, but wasn't picking me. Until when the president said, Bebe could take our son kono. What was disturbing me? Kumbe the president had been told that my idea was just to give out t-shirts and kneeling. It wasn't a mobilization tool. So I wanted to ashame 3 people who had told the president that my idea wasn't a mobilization tool. That is the day I was supposed to explain to the president for the first time what the giving out t-shirts and kneeling meant. Kati president we ansirisa nempulira mu meeting inga balimba president. So many things happened there. I got angry, and ladies and gentlemen, for the first time I'm going to tell you, I got up out of the president's meeting and I left State House. I will never forget. I knew that nabye nkoze ekintu kubanga ezo mpisa mbi naye obusungu bwali bunzitanga sobola gena maaso nga ntudde n'abantu nga balimba president nga ndaba bwenti nensituka nenzijjawo entebe nenfuluma nengenda. And remember, oyita mu mulyango gumu toyiswa kuyita eno president gyatudde era yandaba bwati nga nsituse kubanga yasooka kuŋŋamba bweteka wansi omukono gwogenda kumanya ogenda kwogera ebintu bingi. Nenfuluma nali ntuuka ku Saya Queen, as I was arriving Saya Queen, ne bankubira essimu ne bambuuza oluwa ne mbagamba ndi Kampala, bagamba badde bakweta ne mugamba it's okay. Era president yaddamu nankubira essimu after 1 month. All down, they went and convinced the president because we were stopped 3.5 weeks in. So a team of people at the secretariat went and convinced the president that, remember at that time there were two things that were happening. Also, let me tell you this. Kyagulanyi was doing, there were COVID guidelines at that time. The guidelines did not allow masses. So the Electoral Commission came up with saying that you can only gather 200 people. So Kyagulanyi, I knew that he wasn't going to use 200 people. He knew that the president is scared of COVID because the president was always covered and wasn't getting close to people. He was at a distance. So I knew that this picture is going to be, if Kyagulanyi goes on the roads with these masses of people, and then the president stays in a tent with 200 people, the picture is automatically going to be misinterpreted as Museveni not having supporters. It was a very dangerous moment. Because imagine 3 months when Museveni is in tents of 200 people and Kyagulanyi every day has masses of people walking on the road. That would have convinced the international community, that would have psychologically twisted the mindset of every Ugandan that actually it is true Ugandans no longer support President Museveni. I saw it and I said I'm not allowing this. That's why the first group of people that I had were the ghetto kids, those ghetto gangsters. And then plus adding on the media, because I also said I have to take away the media so that it's not covered fully. Now I'm saying things because there's no need to they're no longer secrets. It's just to show you how we think out these things. Because most of you don't have an idea. You don't know that we sit down and plan. And we plan. Okay, you think we just move. So, I said, okay, now, buli wentuuka ku kyalo ng'oledde nina abaana ba ghetto bus nga 30. Okay? Kigenda kuwa abantu confidence nga tebambadde yellow. Ne tuyingira mu maduuka nga tugaba t-shirt za yellow, ne tuyingira in their homes nga tugaba t-shirt za yellow. They will feel safe, so they will come up. Remember, there was a game of intimidation. So that thing was taking away intimidation from cities. And people were now openly coming back to put on the yellow. So, my plan worked very well. Because every time you saw Kyagulanyi with his big trail of people, you saw Bebe Cool with so many people on the streets. But President Museveni was in the serious meetings of the 200s. You get the game? So that's how it happens. Now, how did it go down? It went down when 3 people went and convinced the president in a meeting in Soroti that Bebe Kuru atulated the Electoral Commission egamba tusiga COVID. And the president, you know, President Museveni, when it comes to COVID, even up to now, to have a meeting with President Museveni, we are still going for COVID checkups. Up to today, President Museveni did not even think twice. He called off the movement. I made calls that day. I nearly ran mad. I said, how can I convince this? I went, I talked to Namayanja. Namayanja fought in the meeting. Honorable Namayanja fought in that meeting to tell people that there's a better good in this idea than just what you're seeing here. Naye kumbe, what my format was doing, it was going to stop the big budgets that the president was going to release. Because by countering Kyagulanyi, then there is no pressure from the president or for the president. And without pressure on President Museveni, he never releases money. So nali musente z'abantu nga mwenzanyira. Naye ate at the end of the day, nga nebuuza nga ngamba neba n'abantu. Esente n'eggwanga lyaffe okwonooneka, because remember at the end of the day, we had a problem of mindset. Nga abantu bali mu kugenda convinced ddala nti no President Museveni talina buwagizi, nti Uganda mbi, nti Uganda bleedinga. Ekintu tekitandika okuyingira. Era nze abawagizi ba NUP abasinga sibanenya, because baba sigamu ekintu ekyo. Front, that is the day, that is the week gye mwalabanga abasirikale ne bakuba abantu amasasi emange wa Kiseka yonna, ng'olwo abaana bakomyewo babalemese, abaana banegaya banange, abaana ba ghetto baakaaba amaziga. Do you know, abaana banyumizanga ebintu buli night nga tumiitinga, nga tumaze okulya biki, abaana banyumiza bagamba manyi bwe tubba akasimu okatwale wa mukulu akasimu ka million 3 naye ng'omukulu akuwayo emitwalo 2, naye ssebo kati omunene otufunidde emitwalo 5 buli lunaku. Okitegeera bananga abaana baakaaba. I've never seen what I saw. Nenfuba nenjogera namayanja mukazi otunangamba Bebe sina kyakola. It has failed. Okitegeera nentika abaana nentika zibasi zonna abaana ne bakomawo e Kampala. Abaana lwakomawo e Kampala bwe bati ne baddayo ku kkubo ne busimu ne buvuga okuva ewa abantu nga bameya ba Kyagulanyi ne abakozi babwe ne bakomawo ku kkubo. 3 days later masasi mayinja buli kimu. That is why twatuuka n'okulonda n'ebya internet we byatandikirawo okuvaako. So nga ate internet eno singa nali proceedings ne trail yange y'abannamawulire, it means by the end of the media, by the end of the rallies on that campaign, media yonna yali badde side ya NRM, wali badde tewetaaga kujjako internet. Wali badde tewetaaga kubanga basojja bonna nali mbalina. Okuvira ddala ku websites, okudda ku Facebook, okudda buli aba Twitter bonna nali mbalina. But of course chenali nsinga okunyumirwa is I always wanted to stay in the dress code of a musician who wants to just sing and jump on stage, because that's what my enemies wanted or my competitors wanted. They wanted to always convince themselves that I think small. So what I did, I left them to think that I think small. Era abantu abo bakuba program eyo bankola bubi. Sometimes I look at that lady, emphasizing ku kintu ekyo, and I'm very proud that finally I got an opportunity this time to execute the same program but a bit different. Era kino kye mwalabye ekyabayimbi ne bannamawulire just kwabadde kubulako ba ghetto. Now towards the beginning of this campaign, I went to Mr. Damulira's, Afande Damulira's office. Nemugamba Afande Damulira, program yange ogijjukira yalina abaana ba ghetto. Tulina bajja mu city. Mwami Damulira ku luno n'angamba nti Bebe, this time you don't need to take them because we have built good structures in them. Okay, and they are ready to work within their areas. Nemugamba, oh yeah, that is right. Why? Because before tewali omuntu yabazimba mu structures, bali bakozesebwa bukozesebwa. Era that's why today you see nti this time move yange yali yabannamawulire n'abayimbi bokka. So now you can connect the two. So bufight bono bwaliwo wano mu beginning simanyi abayimbi bajja kwe, those were very petty issues. You are all just diverting, talking about what you did not have as an idea. So we ended up nga tuvuddemu eyo 2021 akalulu, and ebyo byonna ebyabaawo mwalaba ebya ending abiki So this time I devised the best way, because the best way this time was naino finding engeri gye nsobola okufuna finances zange eziri independent from the secretariat. But I took the proposal to Honorable to the Secretary General. Yenyeni najitwala wa Secretary General. But I think it didn't pass because the Secretary General said the budget was so high. I pleaded with the Secretariat Nembagamba to get to we meet the President. I defend my budget. Of course they had added in theirs, but my budget surely was very high. But to achieve 71% success, you need a budget. And you need to make sure that that budget is used where it is supposed to be used. Waliwo kugamba uganda nti budget yino tujikuwadde naye okozese sente kyesirina okukola. That's why we got the 71%. Because all of you abandaba, everyone andaba one, amanyi my contribution to this campaign this time. Everyone knows what I did. Tetwebaka kutulo. Kakati, how did it go down? This time, namanya nti we na relyinga ku already proposal yange bagiganye. Naye before taking the proposal, I came up with two plans. Nengamba nino kunonya sent, nino kunonya omuntu gwe nsobola okukola naye for at least 2 weeks paka president wanalaba effect ya idea yange nampita. Kwanga jukira baku blocking. Nange mwenyini bam blocking to see him. That's why twatuka ku beginning ya campaign nga sinamulaba. Ngabira nga manja kulaba. Nenga mugamba nini ekyocha. Nenga nja kulaba fuse nja kulaba. Nenga asajja omukulu bamugambye ekiwe ky'omukulu aganye okundaba. Kati awo. That's when a friend of mine bwe twatula ne twogera nangamba nina program bagita Unstoppable. Ne mugamba eri etya. Wait nti okay. Let's arm it. Netuji arminga. Nenjiteka wano wabbali. Na preparinga ne tu preparing ebintu byonna nkofira bi helmets biki nenjitereka wabbali nensirika nenzinga emikono. Nendeke ekintu ekyaliwo in the north ekyabayimbi mwe muli kubayimbi muli kuki nga naye during that period of time nali nina omuntu omu ku secretariat yali ampuliriza. Era my fellow Ugandans, I want us to say thank you to this lady. I want us to say thank you to Barbara Nekesa, the National Treasurer. President Museveni kano mukasale mu mukamuwe. The 71% is a contribution for so many people, but the most important people in this contribution are three. God, the president's work, Jewatekamu for the previous 5 years, Ngokola PDM, but the third person is Barbara Nekesa. Sichirumam. The third person is Barbara Nekesa. The National Treasurer made sure that she spoke with everyone who came with any, as however small an idea was, at the Secretariat. When my idea, when my proposal was not accepted by the Secretary General, I went, because it had musicians and the media. I went to the office of the National Treasurer, Barbara Nekesa, and I explained myself word to word as you hear now. Word to word, one word to one word. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. While the campaigns had begun, twasokera Luwero, they stopped me from Luwero with my media people. Never nabayimbi, never tuyimiriza. Kati enaku nnya ezasooka zokka abaana bange ze bamisinga bamawulire 4 days only. But those 4 days nakeranga kumachane ngena nentula ne Barbara Nekesa, and I explained to her the importance of the top social media people that I had put up. Barbara Nekesa ne munyonya paka Barbara oyangamba Bebe. Of course secretariat nze ndi national treasurer ndi muwanika kino nekiri naye nina okufuna approvals okuva ewani SG oba kale secretariat ngekiriza naye teyakkiriza proposal naye kaneyiye nga Barbara Nekesa ndabe engeri gye nkusupportinga muno obusente obutini taba namawulire ne mugamba nyamba at least abayimbi kambire keffe tubeere waka naye bannamawulire bagende bakolere presidenti because I knew the plan was going to fall down again. Barbara Nekesa nabeera nga mpaayo obusente butono nga buliwo kulya nga bannamawulire bange nga balina okweyiya engata gye begatta okugenda okusula nenjiya walala wenzija amafuta. But I knew that give Bebe Cool 2 weeks in an idea like that, everything will turn around. So Barbara Nekesa kept on supporting me, supporting the media people. Nganze siriyo, I could have gone to sing because no one was stopping me to sing. Actually, Secretary General Yangamba, you Bebe Cool, you can come. No. Nze specifically bangana because I was told that the artists from the north say I refused them to sing in Buganda here, so I should not go there. Then I'm okay. So the good thing with campaigns is every region has a person who leads it. So Barbara nali mukoyeseza buli lunaku nga mga Barbara yogera n'omusajja mutaba yimbi bagende bakolere president. Abayimbi bano bamaze emyaka 5 basupporting NRM bavuma abana bano mubaleke bagende bakolere akasente. Rale za Buganda ntunonye bintu bya regional bifu but regional artists bakole neiba nabayimbi bo bakole whole country kubanga bo amanya agagwa manene. Amanya abantu ge bachaawa manene bali yes basobola okukola mu bulijjo bakolera tewali abaganye kola naye amanya gabaragadi manene aina kola rale bisatu okufuna muko ku kasente akakompensate nga losiye yabafani. That was my argument. Toyinza kuddira upcoming n'omuteka kuragadi ku kamiliyoni ku buchayi bwe bayiseemu wano olwa supporting a NRM. No, you kubagama nti bo bajje bayimbe wano. No, you can't do that. On top of that, you seeing other artists performing the whole place. Abaka jamu NRM. Naye bakaliba batudde awaka bo akakokola kanywedde. Baganda bange bampita Bebe Cool olina okunkuba nno n'onzikiriza ddala kubanga nze neemulula nali I couldn't have just. So about Barbara Nekesa, I must tell the president the main reason lwaki campaign eno yali very successful. Omukyalo oyo ya making sure nti esente zirina okugenda mu bintu bye zalina okugenda ne zituuka ku muntu wa wansi. The day I was in a meeting, I used to enter by force nenyingira office ye kwa nali mbikoye. You know, secretariat eyo oyinza okuyimira mu corridors ezo nobeera ng'emmese. But when I'm working for President Museveni, I undress the stardom status. So I used to stand in the corridors paka when natuka nenkuwa no nengamba kankomewe enkofira ya artist nenyingira by force. So nengira ko meeting yemu nempuliranga they're activating the 30 or 60 people per village. Nensanyuka nnyo naye ngenda bawulira lwaki Museveni yakubye 71% is because structures za NRM Museveni yali yazimba yali yazivaako ng'omuntu omutuufu anoonya akalulu wa wansi nga bamuvaako. Era bwe nawulira nga Barbara alwana okuza structures ezo n'okukozesa abantu abo, I became so proud and happy, and I knew that we were going to get the 70 to 80%. Ate nga nange nali nkutte flag esinga obukulu eya media. So Barbara natutwaliriza mpola kakati Babla yangamba nti Babla yali in charge did not perform in the north, so performances za normalizingira mu east. But normalizingira mu east, that's when I'll 4 days before okugenda mu east nali planninga bulungi nti 4 days ezo nze ne mukwano gwange owa Unstoppable programu yaffe twagiteeka in such a way nti twali tulauncinga at that time nga twagala tutandike Unstoppable tugende tusinkane mu east ng'etandika. Kati nga nkimanyi bulungi nti ngenda kukosa Unstoppable okomyawo abayimbi murali, because tewali muntu yenna yali asobola kunstopinga, because it wasn't a program for the secretariat. It was individually owned by a friend of mine and championed by me, and the budget, the money was there in my hands like this, so no one was going to stop me. Because I knew how they stopped me last time. They stopped me because they had the money in their hands. So I devised a way to get money and put it in my hands, and I knew that I will achieve the president's attention in less than a week with that program. So I only needed funds for 1 week. We took off Unstoppable at about 10 in the morning from Lugogo to Kira Road, to Kamocha, to Mulago, to Wandegea, and of course straight Kampala Road, Jinja Road, all the way paka Mukono, paka Jinja, twasula Jinja on that day. But the media platforms zona in 1 day zafuka Unstoppable. So ne campaigns the president that was covering, and that was intention. But the next morning there was a phone call from the president's train. Ira wetwave Jinja twagenda straight Soroti. The third day I was in a meeting with that friend of mine, the president, and that is the day the president got to know that his boys and girls are not on the trail. Tebayimba tebaliyo ba generals be tebaliyo nambuza nemuga mzee chichogezako kola. Are you trying to confirm to the people the rumors that NRM uses people and dumps them? These are my words and I'm saying them open. Nemugamba mzee, those are the words. Nti one sudde no funo mwana omuto omulala feo to sudde. Mzee nangamba Moses, what are you talking about? Nemugamba mzee, we are not on your campaigns. That's why I had to use this friend of mine to pull your attention. Nangamba chichi nemubulire ebitu na stopping alamuko nangamba okay, you come back tomorrow. So the next day I went back for the same meeting. You remember the first day there was a picture, the second day there was a picture. Kati in the first day nemugamba naye ngenda kujja ne ba general babiri. That day ngenda ne kusasira ne Jose Chameleon. Now that was a day I was supposed to have gone also with Alien Skin. Remember when Unstoppable nali ntadeko Alien Skin nga musasude 40 million. Naye nga nze mutwe nali nchimanyi because Alien yalita nalaba ku president. Nga nze mmanyi nti olufuna attention ya president tugendayo na enoyo mwana na yafuneyo kubanga Alien yakola nnyo for the NRM. I remember a Kololo Alien Skin yayogera clearly and openly nti kati nze ndi officially wa NRM. Na ingo rede yali amaze ku contributing a very much mu downfall ya abana kuva mu ghetto kuda kusaidia NRM. He had done a good job. So nga njagala agendeyo ate nga nze mmanyi ddirwe basasula. Naye ye ne banne ne balaba nti tekijja bakolera balina reasons zaabwe nenziteke ebbali. That's why mwalabangako Unstoppable situsenze. Actually Gravity yali tagenda kwa Unstoppable kwa Gravity gwe nali nsimbudde agende mu rallies kuba that week rallies zali zigenda kutandika. Gravity ne mugamba Gravity komawo ne Cafe kusasira mujje tumire ku pick up fe tugabe nkofira ne helmets. That's how we went. Kati on that night, the first meeting, mzee when ali munyonyole ekintu ekyo, he told me, oh, Bebe, okay, I'm tired, you come back tomorrow. Nemgama, I'm coming with Kathy, I'm coming with Chameleon. So we went, that day, waliwo muntu omukulu nangamba nti tugatireko nono omuvubuka munamasaka abadde anoonya muzeeyi, so ne munamasaka ne tumuteekako. So we went in 4 artists. Kati that's the day when I explained to the president exactly what the picture looks like. Namwe muzeeyi abantu balina picture ne erozesa mu NRM is a user. But remember Museveni adiringa n'ebintu bingi ate biri ku high level, tayinza kubeera ku buno obwaffe obutono, ffe tulina obwesolvingira na kyavambuuza Chameleon namugamba muzeeyi bwe kiri, muzeeyi ffe mazima ne tulabika. Kathy namugamba Chameleon soko osirike, muzeeyi leka Bebe akunnyonnyole. Moses ne munyole mugamba muzeeyi narrative etambula eri nti twakubiddwa ekikono naddala nze. Nambuuza ekikono kitegeeza ki? It means sidelining, that you have used us, you have dumped up the Museveni yanyiganze sirabangako kintu. Era mwengenda bagamba ekintu kimu, abalaba Chameleon nga asitudde ekisawo ky'essente, mwe temumanyi kye mwali mulaba ssente. Ekyo kyali kyejo kubanga ebigambo Chameleon muzeeyi byayogera nenda bibaddiramu. Muzeeyi yagamba, how can my generals be mistreated like that? That was the question. Teyaddamu kirala, yayita simu nangamba ekintu eki nga bawulira, agamba okay, what do you want me to do now? Nemugamba muzeeyi manyi budget, natekayo budget tezayitayo mu secretariat, naye kyembadde njagala mbadde njagala kuideeta bayimbi bo bonna bakomewo bajje bakusupporting abaana bano wanookawe bakola capital, okay, bakole ku busente ate ne industry erabike supporting NRM. Nangamba done, what do you need? Nemuwaka budget. Nemugamba give me a facilitation that I can facilitate, like I use to facilitate the artists and the media. Nakube simu zali saa mukaaga, nagamba controller Bebajja ne Kamiri ne Kathy. So that's why you saw ebintu byonna byakyuka omundi gumu that day. Era bayimbi bonna nze be nakozesa nabayita ku Sky Hotel bonna. That's why n'abantu nga Buchaman samuyita kubanga Buchaman talina mugaso ku gundi ku stage ku rally talina. Naye there was a time where ina contribution era desperate ye eva wonti yaluzinga nnyo bafani. Kati bw'omuleka ebbali ng'otutte just abalina hiti, obeera hypocrite, obeera as bad as bano be nali nwanyisa. So that's why buli muntu kabe Fina mugerwa. Era abantu batula ne bagamba Fina akola ki ku stage. Ne Fina ya sacrifice nga kakari yake ako nga bwe kaali. Nayingira obukyayi mu Buganda nga bwe mumanyi obukyayi bwe bwali wano. Kakati ate mutandise okufunayo kate mubeerabira. That is not Bebe cool. Era president bwe yawulira ebigambo ebyo, actually bwe yava ku simu awo nangamba n'okungamba nti now come back after tomorrow but 1. Eyo yali meeting ya kusatu. Same week jukira bala bamunoonyeza myaka na myaka. Same week. Now I'm showing you that ebintu ebisinga bihappeninga nenga president taswa kumanya. Kakati naffe ngaffe bebi happeninga ku oyina okulwana ennyo okulaba nti olabise ebintu ebyo mu ngeri emu oba endala, so that he gets to know. Yes, the president, Uganda has the best intelligence, but ne intelligence oluusi baji blindinga mu nsonga z'obukokola. Kati gwena kwerwanako ng'omuntu. Kubanga if I had not fought this time to make sure that the media n'abayimbi bakola, now that Afande Damlira had handled the ghetto, okay, ira nali buddaawo ne netulako abenalemu bayusers kituufu namwe abawagizi b'opposition malige twakugamba nenga ate amazima matuufu ne president yali tamanyi kigenda maaso. So president bwe yagamba yabuza n'agamba naye Chameleon. Actually mu conversation yaffe that day nga tuli bana that meeting eyokubiri yabuuza but you chameleon you wawona unasobola nga amubuuza nga muzadde bangamba oli mzee chameleon yebaza mzee webale nnyo okunsasula eddwaliro natereera kino kiri naye muzee kino naye Bebe kabyogere with respect ate bonna nga barifaringa Bebe with respect maso ga mzee. Of course mzee gives me the respect. He knows my age and my experience, and he knows I'm the one who has been fighting to bring all these people, no matter who, to him in a good way. This is not about anything, no, but we all should try and see this vision together. Kakati mzee bwavamu ekigambo ekyo kigamba nti how can my generals be disrespected? Let me tell you what happened that day. Ndaba Joseph nastuka mwawo asoka mzee ana ina fence na fesanyu na ina fence chameleon for the first time asumuruka masoka president nafuka ize simu kwogera nekati nafuka ize nafukanga baby yamaliza president agamba nti no one should ever try to fail you, my generals. I felt proud. This message goes to the president. Those words were good enough to show me that you have appreciated the sacrifice, because in sacrifice I'm making 50 years soon. All I know is NRM. Fight yange obulamu bwabadde mukulwanira NRM tolina kirala kyongamba ate sirwana bulwanyi mbu ne positioning financially. No, it's because I believed in a vision that the president preached, and I'm seeing things happening. Naye nga mbadde ku target age emu naye olunaku olwo nalaba kamiliyoni nga nasanyu nagira nemanya nti omulenzi kati naye afunye final confidence. Kubanga oluusi tukola nga tomalina kumanya nti omuntu gwokolera asiima. Era President Museveni alabye nnyo musajja mulungi, musajja asiima nnyo, naye kizibu abantu okumanya nti asiima. Ate tayinza gamba buli muntu nti webale nnyo nkwagala nnyo. No. Naye it was very important because ne Joseph yali yeetaaga confidence eyo nganze gye nnina, because me I had the confidence before. I know him. We speak one-on-one all the time. He's like my father, era yo tata wange owokubiri. Don't be surprised if mwala banga akyala mu ddwaliro nga ndwadde. Nze confidence njina naye I was proud and happy to sing achogera maaso ga Catherine kusasira. Of course Catherine amtwalira ddala nga muwala we ekyeja amukole ekyeja ekizibu. Catherine kusasira mzee amukole ekyeja. Ate kimukoze ekyejo. One time twali mu campaign ya tumonga nawe, mama najja ne mzee twali mu West eyo nga tunate okuva mu West tutandike Buganda. Kati omanyi campaigns zino zi happening in a way. There is one person who does not stop once the campaigns begin, from beginning to the end. That is the president. The rest of the people bachuka. Mpozi ne secretary general ayinza okuwummulamuko. Naye aba omuntu omu atawummula buli lunaku yabeera nanyini program ye president. Mama Janet ng'agira n'awummulamu, abasirikale babakyusa, convoy emmotoka zikyuka, bannamawulire bakyukakyukamu, oluusi oli alwaddemu n'awummula, bunne najja da, abayimbi oluusi akooye n'atajja, lwafunye accident n'atajja. Naye president yekka bw'ati yetawummula okuva campaign wetandika paka lweggwa. Kakati one time mama ne muzei, mama yawummulamu emirundi ebiri n'akomawo n'asanga nze ne kusaasira, because that time twakolanga campaign 5 per day, 5 rallies per day. This time we were doing 2, but we were doing 5. I was emceeing and singing. Catherine and Fina Mugerwa were co-emceeing and dancing and making fun, entertaining. Mama n'atuyita yanyenya omutwe bw'ati kubenga emmotoka yayita kumpi ne stage n'anyenya omutwe bw'ati oba omulaba jukira tubeera tuyimba wuyo nze wanika kati mama n'atula n'agamba naye kati mu evening bwe tugenda okubuuzako muzeeyi ku rale mama n'abuuza ng'ayagala nakuvaamu maziga nti naye mmwe temuwummulako nakawummula mwebale kukola mama Janet. That is the day namanya anti Catherine naye ayiseemu ng'omukazi. Okay, so that is how we twatandika kati jukira mbajidde kweri ebitandise ebyatandika ebyo. So those answers are simply answered. Is that no, I was not going to allow musicians who have sacrificed to be minimized to that level, and to also justify nti Bebe Kulu abera ne plans behind every single thing I do. I always have a plan, and then also there's always a backup plan. So to cause the campaign zezo unstoppable supporting the main campaign. Secretary General also came to accept wetwayingira campaign not welcoming bulungi mu Kalulu. Barbara Nekesa na continuing to supporting era katono ke yali agira nange kubuno bu support nembuteekayo nengatta abayimbi nembera ngamba wa facilitation from that time all the way. Abamu beereta by force, abamu bagira na kusaidia Eddie, abamu ne batandika okuforcing eno. Honorable Speaker nankubira nampayo artist omu mugatteko ne mugattako ne nkola budget zange empya era nearly nezijja close to what I had given in prior. Mzee nangamba it's okay tujja kula ne mugamba tujja kulaba eri ku end kastompa dechi facilitation. Let me first deliver, and we came bulungi nnyo ne tukola campaign zao ne tu. Of course, mwalimu obuntu obutono obutabulamu babayimbi banamawulire bano tebankwata. That was Eddie complaining. To me it was very minor because omulimu ogwali gutute banamawulire, it wasn't to cover us as musicians, but it was to cover the president and the message. And I didn't take those things serious. Of course, batoba febano abasinga bagenda kuiga buyizi, and that's why I put a lot of emphasis on learning. Bana emuliza abantu abakulu babera nebintu bingi behind the little things they do. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't see the top and just think the inside is the top. No, bintu bino ebisinga betukola tubeera tu ateka tubache insite kyakola bintu direct tinzije nkuletere direct nti ebintu mbikweka memwawuliranga break the chains. Break the chains was meant to, I just wanted to have a topic that would make sure that by the time of the big budgets flowing in the campaigns, I'm on top of the industry. Simple as that. Because it gives you the power to run the finances. Mwino kwigo kulowooza timbera na spending $1 million, break the chains. Do you know how much I'm worth now if I was to be paid for the work I did? Fena, by the way, I want to congratulate buli muntu yenna contributing yakolera NRM. That's why banamawulire nabafiriddeko nnyo. Era NRM Secretariat kati, I believe you all know the importance of media. You all know the importance. The number one platform right now is TikTok. You know the importance of TikTokers. Njagala kubebaza mwenna TikTokers mwenna betwali nabo. Kati ngenda kubadzaye mabega katono. Bwe mwali mundaba ku break the chains, it wasn't just about me. No. I was collecting media personalities. When nabakwata nemba twala entungamo ku coffee, I was paid $100,000. Nagano gendo kuyimba unless if I'm paid that money, because na justifying a usage yazo nensa sula bana mauli. We stayed there for 7 days nga tupushinga coffee. It wasn't just a performance. Bobo saba sente ng'omuyimbi, justify the money to the client. Era bwe nawuliranga abantu boogera ebintu bennayuganda baba nayiga batya, baba nayiga ddi. Gwe tosobola kulaba nti omusajja omu atambudde ne bannamawulire 7, buli omu amusasula $15 ddeyire, n'amusuza n'amuliisa. Gwe gattagattamu awo plus mangu olabe nti in one day abaspendinze sente mmeka. Bwe nabajjaawo ne ndyoka mbatwale Kenya, mutemu abalaba nti nasulanga nabo mu zi high-end hotels. Abamu bayita mu nnyonyi, abalala ne bayita ku ground. Bwe nava Kenya ne mbatwale Tanzania, mutemu abalaba. I was building that for the NRM. I was showing the NRM the importance of a TikToker at that time. That if you want your project to sink in the people have one platform they listen to right now. It's called TikTok. Because twogedde nga tebawulira bigambo. Mu meetings tosobola kunnyonnyola Secretary General the importance of yani mtabani wange oli yavuma nga atakyavuma Rama. Secretary General toyinza mubuulira Rama n'amutegeera. Kyovula bahajati na myalo yakambwalira eno n'abakozi naye n'akiraba n'atambuza they listen to a different language. President wali tozinza munnyonnyola ebyo. Kyovula ba president agenza okutegeera TikTok bulungi after the unstoppable gundi eyo gye twakole Lwakitura eyabavubuka podcast. That's not the era in which they come from. They come from the other era of paying for New Vision, paying for TVs. Kibadde tekinnaba kubanyikiramu bulungi nti nno information kati ogitunda faster using TikTok. Era secretariat yali epanzeyo ba TikTokers bayo nga 8, 10, 12. Nga naye ina abawandiisi ina abebikamera bino ebyazi TV bino ebinene ebyo betikka bino nga bye. Who still watches those things? 30% of Ugandans. Otherwise the rest of Ugandans bonna kati bali ku TikTok. Quick information. Teba China time esoma bili ebiwanvu nti no. That's why amawulire gagwa, and this is the truth. Newspapers zagwa because of social media. And I remember King Kalisa has been telling all the media houses to embrace these social media platforms, most especially TikTok, because it is the #1 platform. You can't to run the media. Nzijukira bwe twali mu Unstoppable mwalingamu abantu abamu abagamba nti tulekera okuteekako logo ya silent majority, tuteekeko buteesi. Nembaga no, buli muntu yenna agenda okukola ku ground agenda kuteekako logo ya silent majority, so that we are clearly identified, because our energy is not going to be mixed with other people who are lazy. Because different people brought teams, but the teams were not working. Wala babiri abali kulale benasinga okutya bayingiranga ne bateka esimu bwe bati nenga actual reality bali tebalina kye bali recording nenga babera batadde esimu bwe bati lumala like 15 minutes ne badde erimu ne banyumyane lunaku nga luwedde bali registered. Kakati silent majority media team, Unstoppable media team nga byanjawulo. Naye on top of that nga nina website people. I had about 39 websites. Nga nina Twitter. Nga nina ate bonna nga bali wane ku Facebook. Then I had a team yasigala e Kampala, a breaking it down manifesto enkadde nedaba achievements nebyabulayo ne breaking it down manifesto empya, then nebeera ku points za 7 omusanvu, the 7 points that the president was always emphasizing about, ngebiteeka mu group buli morning songa bwe tugenda kulwale ba tiktokers chovola batuka time nga banyonyola programs nga bazimanyi ono bonna actually musajja wange we Dubai Lego nafuka muzibu nyongo enzo kulooza yabeera mu programs za PDM. All these things were not by mistake. Katinga, most of the people are discussing, hey, Bebe Kulu alwana ne Eddie Kenzo. Really? Really? At this era? No. I have done a contribution. I've done a lot of things. Nzena Zimba, I can tell you that first day when Eddie Kenzo called me to help him create the federation. How was the federation created? He asked me, because the artists were not able to trust him. He called me and asked me, Bebe, sabo nyambe o meetinge King Saha ne Shiba. Abo webana kiriza manyika milioni akuwuliriza ne Juliana. Nemugamba ogenda kukola kintu federation the General Sala agambye kole federation asobola okulaba engeri government jet funding. And no, that's okay. That's fine. Bwe kiba kya industry okufunamu, I will meet kubanze tombulira saha. Sagala abantu bali disrespectful. Abata obubongo butachuka all the time kuvuma abantu kuvuma. Nene muga no it's okay. So naba meetingira ku Torino. Actually, even at that time, there is Sogera Neshiba that we met at Torino, and we agreed for I don't have to like you to work with you. Let's go work. Mvamula bantu federation in the beginning buli muntu yaliyo. Era Joseph Chameleon will do anything. Okujja konga Bebe has approved. Era yakugamba nda Bebe bwaba mwali manyi nti yabirowoozaako biba kitegeeza birimu amagezi kanzije. So is Juliana. Ate mbakubira essimu personal ne mbagamba no trust me. Naye bwe banaabawo ekintu mmanyi omukyala nga Juliana tomala gamuteeka mukala bakyoyo. These are legends. These are very old people who have a break. These are great singers. Naye beefiiriza ne baleka ebintu kuba tebaagala buvuyo. Kakati Bebe nkubidde ondeeta mu federation. Ne Moses Matovu, I called him personally. Nembayita ne tutandika federation. Kozi omukyala oli gundi, yani omukyala wa hotel eyo gye twalinga. Yali yansaba to also, to support. Ate jjukira nali gulu before ebintu byonna twali discussing at the gulu. I was the one who was championing gulu at that time when I spent there 4 months. So there was no reason for me to fight Eddie. Eddie is not in my caliber of thinking, no. Of ideas, no. Of NRM. Bakaliba ba NRM. Chiringanze kulowooza nti ndi mu level za Haji Moses Kigongo. Mu NRM. Mbolokuba Bebe Kulu nkoze nnyo mbwe enange ninga Moses Kigongo. Ani akulagira, ani akulimba. Give Haji Moses Kigongo his respect. Chuvula neba jeno bana abalwana entalo nza abasirikale sibazanyisa. I don't disrespect them just because I'm Bebe Kulu nze Bebe, nze feba fighter ba Museveni okuba yatuwanye. No, waliwo ate balibe yakuba nabe mundu zennyini. Ate nabo batwala hayiri mu ngeri ndala. So botajja nga weesulubabba mbola okuba bakuwanye leero ate obayiseemu amaaso abo. No. So there was no abantu aba creating awards. It might be era mto wange namulaba nganga olusayogira ngamba sija chiddamu. I'll only address it one day when I finish. So that's why I called this a wrap up. Okujja okubaga nti those are just misconceptions. Because of course I wasn't going to tell my media people to cover Eddie. They were not being paid to cover musicians. They were being paid to cover the president, to promote the campaign, to promote the manifesto. You can go and count how many times you saw me on their pages. Very rare. Nze ngamba gobano bagoba bajja maaso ga. Ate bagala okuntuuza mu kamera nga nzize bwendi. Nze binabiko, I'm a big star. I have seen it all. Ate kati nze combining ne reality. I combine the reality with showbiz, with imagination, with fiction. Byo nambira betemina gasiya gumsa kungamba. Tewali. Guys, I have attended the biggest concert in the world. Go back and research. The 46664 concert at Hyde Park was viewed by over 1 billion people live. I was on that TV, I was on that stage for 14 minutes. But I was in London for 1 week with the likes of Will Smith, Bani. I was a young boy. If Tewali was social media, if there was social media, I would be the biggest artist in the world right now, from Africa. I have ne in a lot. Media ya Uganda yona yali concentrating nzeko mukunkuba. Nenkuba ne mane ne yubula ne njidda kungulu. Year to year. So I have experience. That's why I don't use those platforms to beat. If I'm to fight an artist, guys, Gwebuza Joseph, yajja okubulira ffe enwana gye tulwana. Enwana gye tulwana mbi nnyo. Nga lwaki nwana? Really? An artist? Just chenkola nsirika busirisi. Don't okusirika kwange kuli very dangerous. Naddala nga nkumye response. Bwe nkuma response, oba mbuzi. But if I come out to say nti ngenda kulwanyisa, pane nange nsobola okukosa social capital yange. Social capital kitegeeza buli kona yonna, buli platform, buli muntu, buli kintu, buli sente, buli magezi, buli kimu neno. Ne kati ani ayinza okusurvivinga wiiki emu. Kakati kyekinneetaagisa. So the kale I understand the topics zibanyumira, them creating buno buli kano kali. I can ignore you nenkuyitako ng'omuntu. Kubanga mba ndaba bulabi omalira budde biki naye nga mba sikulwanyisa kubanga ebikonde ebyo tebyejjamu. No way. Look at people. Learn how to judge people. Learn how to judge people's reactions so that musoke mutegeere. So twatambuza bulungi akalulu ne tukatuusa. But I already knew that we were going to hit 70 plus. And I used to tell people, ngamba gabana tugenda kuba ensanvu naye nsaba Katonda tukube ensanvu plus.